never know.
It does create even more backtracking. You can come for the price of $6.99. I mean, why can't I come and then get paid? Now for the clock appears to be broken. Stop taking it all together. Is this not the one? LMAO. I mean, look at me. I'm already a content creator. You know what I'm saying? Not a good one, but I dip my toe in. I could dip something else in. You know what I'm saying? Let's give Tofu a shout out. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Oh, fuck. Damn, bro. You okay, Carlos? Is your oil okay? Oh, shit.
Yeah, like this.
Rebecca, no!
I have something to show you. Walk.
There's only 2 days from retirement.
Be the man now, dog. Sean Connery. No, one of my favorite lines in the whole franchise of 007 is Dr. Smith and Wesson, and you had your ship. And he like shoots him in the back twice. My man. Must be dreaming. But this game is less Sean Connery and more hello, baby! I'll make you ready.
Live. You got Lil B Montana playing Silent Hill 2. Got Lil Lotus playing Pummel Party. You got Pig Madison playing Quiet Pace. You got Super Sleepy playing GTA 3.
Oh,
Claire, run.
my boy. What are you doing, dude? You are indeed first. Let's go. Hey, what up? Ezio. How you doing, man? Are you wearing a red hat? No.
I changed to hide my identity.
Yalla habibi, yalla! No. No, I'm not wearing a red hat. 20 bits is not enough for me to do that. Oh my god! My fucking ear holes just exploded. I'm not gonna lie, that scared the shit out of me. I 5 times'd it. Joey Gone MAGA. That was the joke earlier. We're in the whole shebangs MAGA Brothers stream, and it came up. He was like, "How many bits for you to wear a MAGA hat all stream?" I'm like, I don't know, man. A lot. More than 100. Thank you for the biddy though. That will not go unnoticed. But what's good in the hood, bro? I think your stream is broken. First, hey, what up, Jay? Wait, how is it broken? I'm not streaming yet.
Oh shit.
I am now though. You're only in the preview window. Yeah, there's I'm a professional. Yeah, I have to have the streaming soon. I have to wait for people to get here before I put on the show, you know? Let's go. Hi. I don't want to overpay. Maybe I just keep adding 1 bit until you put on the hat. Well, I don't have a hat. I don't have a MAGA hat. I have a Mario hat. That's the only red hat I have. I got Cappy. Yeah, I could wear Cappy if you want. It's not quite the same message. To be honest, I'm more in line with Cappy, but yeah. But what's good, everybody? So yeah. That was loud as fuck. All right. I thought you were a Mario hater. No, I'm not a hater. I just like the RPGs. That's the thing. Like, I respect Mario for the platforms. I get it. That's the platformer. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how it is. It's just, I don't know. I just noticed I tend to. You guys are insane. He's a real one. I fuck with this guy. Dude, he's my coworker. This guy rocks. Are you guys really gonna donate a bit at a time until I get a MAGA hat? I don't have a MAGA hat. I have a Cappy hat. That's what I have. I also have a lava lamp that's off. Actually pretty funny. Joey needs a mega hat. Hook him up. No, it's okay. I don't think I'll wear it. 15 bits. These are the easiest bits I've ever had. I can't even fulfill what you guys are donating towards. That's funny though. Maybe I'll make it a goal. Like how many? I don't even have a MAGA hat. Sure you don't. He's like, I don't have a MAGA hat. Take a big wink at the camera. You did though. I saw that picture. It would take me more than $5 to wear a MAGA hat, and more than $10 to eat an avocado on stream, because that will make me throw up. I wish I did still. Listen, I'll Venmo 20 to your new golden Trump phone to pay for that hat. Who's actually? I wonder how many people actually like gave money for a Trump phone. It's pretty funny. I'll pitch it in the Trump phone as well. Into the. Nice. But yeah, let's play some Batman. All of the Rust Belt. What's a Rust Belt? I feel like that's a joke I should get, but I don't. Dude, it's been so long since I played Elden Ring. Or not Elden Ring. Wow, that's funny. Arkham Knight Asylum. Bruce Wayne would be MAGA. You know what's funny, dude? He wouldn't. Like where they built cars back in the 1920s. Oh. Bruce Wayne has all his money and doesn't fix shit. Yeah, he just low key. I think he's just into the idea of beating up fucking crackheads. He's just like, I gotta keep fueling the system. 80%. Oh shit! I gotta start a new game. It's true. Batman's basically DC Elon Musk. Yeah, dude, it's been like 7 years since I last played this. Because I remember I played through all three. 4, because I'm not one of you bastards that likes to ignore Origins. Kind of poor and mad coded to think rich people can just snap their fingers and fix the world. Yeah, but when you're fucking Bruce Wayne rich, you can at least fix your fucking city. Metropolis ain't this bad. You know what I mean? Like, dude, rent in Metropolis must be cheap. Sorry. I've had this cough all day. Okay, catch. Oh, nice. I kind of forgot all about that. When is it? If you're a billionaire and instead of philanthropy, you buy a tank to help you beat the shit out of the mentally ill, you can do better. You know, you're not wrong. You guys aren't wrong here. But also, this is a world where, you know, there's a fear toxin and a Joker gas and a bitch that can control foliage. But it can't fix shit unless you use it to pay police to kick out the homeless and actually put criminals in prison. Sorry. Yeah, it's annoying because I just got over like a flu or something like that, but I've had this cough all day.
Hi, baby.
I'm convinced I'm just dying at this point.
Shut it, clown. A lot of people.
Shut it, clown.
Really? I don't mind walking. Not so tight, boys. You'll crease the suit.
Dude, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are the goats. So if you got to choose one power to be a superhero, what are you taking? I'll probably do like some fucking Scarlet Witch shit. I'll take the cheat code of superpowers too. I'll just bend reality with magic, you know? So that one. No refractory period to be fire. Holy shit, dude.
Hey, Sharpie, you getting my good
Wait.
side? But
Ezio's cooking right now. Imagine, dude. Just played like 2 years ago. Dude, I played this like 7, maybe even 8 years ago. I had roommates last time I played this.
break out of here.
Are you a big Arkham fan, Jay? Was it you that said you hadn't even played Arkham Knight? Fun. Try something real quick. Sorry. We do the source. Sorry. I feel like I detect a little lag here. Let me actually change the source.
What's your favorite position?
Am I back? Am I back? Okay, that's actually funny. My bad. I tried to fix the Elgato source capture because I noticed that sometimes when you hey, what up? Oh, that was Lemon. Sorry, Lemon's the one that usually does that. If you shuffle the source for the Elgato capture, it gets rid of any delay, and that's what happens. So let me. That's actually properties. We go to. Don't crash, please. Okay. All right. Because I just felt a little bit of lag. You know what I'm saying? And source projector. Here we go. That feels good. But I mean, every time you jizz like Pringles once you pop, dude, if there was no refractory period, I'd be like, you know, when they find Superman and he's just like all lethargic and shit in Dark Knight Returns, that'd be me. Or Flashpoint, I mean.
Much more personal.
Would you rather jizz Chamoy or moan like Goofy when you bust? I mean, I guess it depends on who, you know. Will a Coot Coot respond well to Chamoy being blasted in there? That matters. That matters. Dude, if I could just Chamoy, it's like. If I can get high off my own supply, bro, I fucking love Chamoy. Yeah, I don't moan. I don't already moan like Goofy. You never get anything done in your life, dude, for real. I need like that clarity, that moment of, you know, post nut. If I could just come Chamoy without having to wait, dude. Like, is it possible to come yourself to death? Because I probably would. Imagine how Paul feels. He loves cum. I love Chamoy. Damn it. I got that Joker gas is in this apartment right now. Who had that cooking with cum cookbook? Your mom. Hey, that's funny. Your mom too. Perv.
My boys over there could have been hurt in that unfortunate fire. Just gotta check
Damn
the
it.
prisoner off. Whatever, just be quick.
Only following procedure.
I think I should like,
Patient seems to be in satisfactory condition.
I don't know.
Looks like he suffered minor lacerations, probably in the last 2 hours.
Like, it's been a while since I've actually like legit gone to a doctor. That's one. Yalla habibi yalla. I should just go like, yo doc, am I dying or something?
Happy to drop my pants.
He saw you.
Hey.
Get him out of here.
Oh, but anyway, Arkham City is better, but I do like this one. I think, and I said this before, retroactively, I think the Arkham Asylum, it just stands out more, you know, because City is like, I feel like open world City, you know, superhero games are a dime a dozen these days. We don't have too many like Batman Metroidvanias. You know.
Must have been one of the guards then.
I don't know. It is hard to pick which one's better. I do feel like this one's more unique, which I appreciate. Certainly in what, 2010 when that shit came out, you know.
Ready. Keep your weapons trained on it.
Also, I love and hate what they've done to Killer Croc, because isn't he just supposed to have like a skin disease? Look at this mutant over here. Is this in anticipation of the Lego game? Dude, I'm so stoked for that. That fucking Kiss from a Rose trailer got me super jazzed. In retrospect, you can suck my dick, City over Asylum. That's fair. Like I said, they're very close. I adore both of those games. And I do think Asylum, Night, while it has its faults, it's also fantastic. It definitely earns that mature rating, which I appreciate. It's beautiful. It has a great story. I think my biggest knock against Arkham Knight is the shoehorn Batmobile puzzles. There's so fucking many of them. Frame generation to hit 30 frames per second for a Lego game. It's made by retards. It doesn't have a native 30 or 60 frames a second? As close as your lips are to my sweaty balls.
Night is young, rats. I still have a trick or two up my sleeve.
What are you guys' favorite Batman villains?
Funny how a fire at Blackgate caused hundreds of my crew to be moved here.
They recommend frame generation to hit 30?
I told you to stay quiet.
Jesus Christ, I didn't know that. Are they just not even trying to optimize these games these days?
That mouth of yours shut. It'll get you into trouble.
Tell me something. You've never let me catch you this easily. What are you really after?
Oh, nothing much. Hundreds dying in pain and fear. All their meaningless lives.
Well, look whose bitch ass is alive. Thought you were dead in the ditch. I mean, there's still time. I kind of feel like shit today, to be honest, and it's crazy. Like I said, I just got over something. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. No performance mode on consoles. Play on PC till patch comes out. Yeah. Damn it. Well, the good news, and also, what up, Ken? MB90, what up, man? Moonlight works very nicely with my setup, so I might actually get it on PC regardless. Would you rather come 1 gallon every time or have no refractory period?
Don't you trust me?
Dude, I wouldn't want somebody to piss fucking a gallon every goddamn time. And if it's me doing it, dude, the whole place would be drenched. Like, go to the bathroom, bitch.
You're back.
Finger you in the bathroom, toilet or something. The tub.
Only 3?
I already do
I'll
both.
be sure to try harder next time. What say we aim for 100?
30 frames a second isn't bad. RDR2 on Red Dead Redemption 2 on console runs at 4K 30 and feels great. Especially on console, I'm very of the mindset. I'm performance over fidelity. I would rather dumb it down to 720 for a clean 60 and have 4K at 30. Personally, you know what I mean? Depends on how lazy the devs are. There's some pretty lazy devs apparently. Oh yeah, dude, this Harley Quinn was part of my reawakening. I wasn't really into Harley until this game came out. There's that part when she's like, "How you like my new uniform?" And I was like, a lot. Same. I like performance, but none of that in Red Dead Redemption 2. They don't even have a fucking option. Like every time I masturbate, or every time you pee, you didn't specify. Well,
He surrendered almost without a fight.
let's clarify here, guys.
I don't like it.
At least he's
Squirt is pee. It's involuntary pissing. You don't have a squirt bladder. You don't have squirt reserves anywhere. No, you. Answer the question. Good old Joker. I said cum. No one says I gotta go take a cum. Yeah, but I mean, girls can cum without fucking drenching the place. Right? Right? I know anatomy. And comes every time she pees. Trust me, I have a cam on your toilet. Jesus Christ. He calls it the can cam. Good old Arkham Combat. God damn it.
Apologize for this interruption to your
Okay.
After a few seconds ago, I seem to heal everyone in the room with a bunch of cartoons.
Yeah, it's been a while. Let me get the hang of this. I mean, there's nothing to get the hang of. There's a circle. Oh, I lost it. I thought I could like lock on and tap the circle button and just like at them. I subconsciously come. It isn't until I go pee that I see it. Yes, so yes, I come pee, LMAO. My chest disagrees. Fucking can. Girls don't poop, so I don't know if we can trust them. It's funny. I'm much more used to just being able to web zip fucking enemies as Spider-Man. Because I also don't want to break the combo like I just did. And then, oh, I don't have that ability yet. That's what it is. Where you stun them with the cape, and then you can just fucking you can Ip-Man them. We can all agree Batman over Spider-Man. No, we cannot all agree. I am all in on Spidey.
We're stuck in here. Joker's in full control of the security gates.
You wanna fuck? Tell me when I'll take a drive up.
Warden, try and contact the warden.
Oh, can.
I'll be back.
Spider-Man is crazy overrated. Your fucking face is overrated, bitch.
I'm in control of the
Batman's overrated. Ooh, prep time. Shut the fuck up. You're a rich baby with mommy and daddy issues.
I'll let you run.
always for the heroes.
Batman's 10 out of 10. Yeah, dude, definitely over fucking Batman.
Why don't you just come find me?
Batman had 20 minutes of prep time. He could beat fucking anybody. Broken fucking bullshit character ever made. At least Spider-Man's died a couple times. When Batman dies, he just goes through adventures through time as a pirate and caveman and shit. I'll give him 8 out of 10. Only the first two Raimi movies are actually 10s. Peter Parker or Miles Morales? I like both, but I am a Peter Parker guy. I love both of them. But Peter Parker will always be my boy. Fuck. Watch me just slowly like erode away on stream.
Joker's been busy. These poor guards never stood a chance.
Imagine a superhero being, give me 4 weeks till we can fight. Yeah, it's his superpower is fucking UFC hype. Oh, that's right. It's got Gears of War running. And then what's detective mode? What's detective vision? Oh. No. 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 It'll tell me. Spider-Man Comics is so white. Alt F4. Oh yeah, let me delete my system 32 while I'm at it. Ah, motherfucker! Like, this game is basically... It is a Metroidvania. Like a 3D Metroidvania. It's basically Resident Evil with Batman. Good choice. I don't like DEI Spider-Man. I fucking love Miles. How dare you? Sorry, I didn't see that message. Imagine having a System 32. Yeah, I know, right? In fucking 2026. That would be pretty crazy.
Hey, Batman, over here.
Can you hear me?
Oracle. Anya.
Joker's escaped custody. He's running.
But what's everybody up to tonight? But with the mommy issues and daddy issues, I get
Commissioner Gordon is
double the cum dump with the side of trauma dump. I mean, if that's what you want your pillow talk to be. He just cries. He's just like, there's nothing I can do. But I do want a guy with parent issues or a guy who is a walking doormat to a girl who doesn't give a shit about him. I mean, it's good to have goals, you know?
Please, you've got to save him.
Thank God.
I need like
He's got Mike. He's strapped in the chair. Zach,
I need like ibuprofen or something.
Wait here.
you can't. He'll kill Mike if he sees anyone trying to get close.
He won't see me.
I see anything that looks even a little.
You guys are here, right? In case I fucking stroke out on stream.
Dies. Do you hear
And I mean
me?
the fun kind with refractory periods.
Don't go easy on him, Batman.
Etienne knows where I live, I think. He can call 911 for me. You only get one kind of dump from me. The mushy kind. You don't seem like a dude with solid shits. How crazy would it be if I threw up on stream?
Have another.
Back. Hang on. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I need it. Yeah. All right, surprise. It's my second affiliate thing. I want to play an alien game. So we're going to do that. Like it's a decent size hole. You guys are gross. Real mature, guys. Real mature.
Sega.
Your mom is very cool. Yeah, this is one I actually haven't played in like longer. I'm proud of it. Thank you, man.
I'm proud of you.
Appreciate
know
that.
I hope you do.
I assume, but it's just nice to hear. Where the fuck is my emote? You blind bitch fuck. It's here. I almost bought this on sale a few weeks back. Was it on sale? This is rad, but you missed an opportunity to give your avatar the hair. It was either that or glasses. I meant it when I said hastily rigged. I didn't have time. I was like, this was done like at 2 a.m. Let's go. Let's do normal. I'm not trying to sweat.
Sir, we're ready to begin.
How old do you think it is? 10,000?
So make this, but not my emote.
100,000?
Yeah. You know, in a funny way, this is
Mr.
actually easier
Wayland?
than that goddamn emote.
Yes.
In a way.
Begin the breaching procedure.
Also, I love how like they just go out of the way to shoehorn in Lance Hendrickson. Kill it with fire. What up, Cash Cow?
With fire.
I got an emote for you right here. I grabbed my crotch, by the way. Nice. What up, Cash Cow? Did you miss my chest burst? Aw, shit. What up, Dry? It's all this yo mama, you ugly fuck. Nice. I didn't see it live. Dang. Yeah. Those guys here, I was just talking shit about that guy. He was. I can't confirm. I was talking mad shit. It was offensive. Oh, fuck. There's a 3-minute break. Wait, can somebody dismiss that? Can one of my mods dismiss the ad break? I'll pause after and because I actually do have to pee. Or, oh, I don't know if you can. Or not dismiss, but like delay. It's already going. The ad break is already going? Oh, no. Can I pause this? Yeah. Oh, it started. Well, for the fine price of $5.99.
Somebody help me!
Oops. Here, I'll pause it once we get to the gameplay. That was the greatest 60 seconds of your stream ever. It was actually like 2.5 minutes. Thank you. I'm about to sign up and call it a night. That's fair. I never got any ad. Well, that's good to know. Hey, twins. Hashtag twins.
That's the last of them. Commencing specimen retrieval.
Dude, I was so hyped when this game came out. Because you're subbed? Exactly. Thanks again, by the way. Oh, actually, I really do like this part too.
What happened to specimen 6?
Specimen 6 is a smart boy. Or girl. Get back!
No, Dr. Rose. I want it alive. I like this one. Send in the combat androids. Mark it up for the program.
That's kind of nice. If I stroke you with a little tongue coming on screen. Something like that. And we go. Like a little turtle. I make that noise when I come.
Number 6. I remember this one. Mr. Wayland thinks there might be something special about it. Let's see if he's right. Basic responses first. Simply orient your head in the direction indicated.
I speak English now.
See? Watch her track my hand.
Oh, it's a girl.
Obedient.
Wait,
Very good.
Why do these things have
On to
genders?
the next test.
Aren't they like asexual little bugs? I mean, I guess there's the queen. But it's not like they fucked the queen to make the eggs. Like, I don't think there's males per se with the xenomorphs. No.
These
No,
things
what?
can move on any surface.
Well, mouse 3? What's mouse 3? Wait. Wait. What's mouse 3? I don't know if I have a mouse 3. I have to have a mouse 3, right? Is it meant? Isn't that middle mouse click? Wait, what the fuck? Wait. Standard Jones are sexless like Jay. Nice. Hold it. Okay. Oh, okay. It said hold. All right.
Just as I predicted.
Raid, nigga, raid.
Gracefully done, 6.
Okay. All right. Bet.
You
I'm
can
gonna
jump
throw
too,
up.
can't you? Now, send in the first test subject.
Where are you taking me? Why won't anybody tell me what's happening?
Tries jealous because I was too busy killing to have sex. Nice. You were just born. You're still retarded. I'm like, oh, I lost the tracking for a second. Nice. Jay also busts on Dude's chest. Lots of swears here. This is true.
You are participating in
Also, like the
vital
xenomorph, he's just a big
research, my
dickhead.
friend.
Doc Groves? What is this?
Hey, bitch. Rawr. Oh, he doesn't even see me. Light attack.
It almost seems to tune with its prey.
Gotta get out of here!
Yes.
Wish I could, like... I was trying to teabag him. But I'm already on all fours. I can't.
Unclouded by remorse. Mr. Wayland may have been correct about you. This is interesting. A new strain. It knows the darkness is its ally. I can barely see you, 6. If I didn't know you were there. Bring me another test subject.
Do it.
Clause 88C of your employment agreement has come into effect.
As long as I get paid, right? It's pretty dark in here. Can I get a flashlight?
No.
You just want me to fix the lights?
A structurally perfect organism, no question. Send in another test subject, armed. This should be more of a challenge for you, 6.
Sick. Bro, the fucking character looks like that fucked up T-Rex. Can you say, why don't you love me?
What seems to be the problem?
I'm not sure I know the reference.
What happened to the light?
Doing an imitation of Paul talking to his mom.
A strong indicator
Coolant's
of
banning
intelligence.
again.
But how do you know it's a threat?
Okay, now what?
That's enough for today, I think.
There's a metaphor there somewhere. Oh. They fucked the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. I think the dinosaur saying, why don't you love me? In that movie, to be honest. How do I get in there? There we go.
What's this? Trying to escape? Hearing the call of the matriarch, no doubt.
The T-Rex is fucked up. Huh? Yeah, I don't remember T-Rex talking either. You sure we're talking about Jurassic Park here? You would have tried messing with me.
Impressive, 6.
I don't play.
Most impressive.
Nice.
Escape is not an option for you, however.
You think darkness
Please,
is your ally?
don't try it
Or
again.
like Jurassic Fart, am I right?
What's happening?
Wayland's finally going to do it.
Security alert. Power failure. Please remain calm.
Excuse me.
The restraints. The xenomorph.
Run, motherfucker!
Whoa! Fucking bastard!
All security staff are required to report to their posts.
No, it's more like, hey, you guys from Goody, but I want you to say, why don't you love me? We're gonna it's fast. Hello, my baby. Hello, my mama.
Emergency light. Pressure doors sealing. Sentry turrets online.
I think the headlights heal me if I roll first place. No, this game is bullshit. What do you mean? It can take hits to kill someone. It takes E hits to kill. Oh, I mean, it is a game at the end of the day.
Try to stay calm. I assure you, everything will be alright.
Shit! That was a lot of damage. Okay. Pretty fat fingered it. That's what happens to the rest of us. Let me kill the turret.
Open the door, please!
This is Administrator Captain of the Wayland United Research Lab. We have a class 4 xenomorph infestation. Repeat, xenomorph infestation.
We say xenomorph in these parts. I'm a monster! Oh. More royal jelly? I don't see any.
Ventilation sensors detect potential xenomorph activity.
I come in.
I'll fat finger you anytime. Very nice, very nice. Oh, I thought I saw some more royal jelly. Hey yo, gotta fat finger Joey first to see what I'd be working with. Expect a very poopy finger, that's all I'll say.
6 has entered the Matriarch's holding facility. Get me security.
This is way out of my pay grade. No fucking way. We got a
I'm gonna play this on 360. Did stream get all shitty on my end?
Nice try, but no cigar.
No, it looks good on mine. Just wait, let me type it because I see my monitor. Refresh. Oh shit. Oh, it was lagging on mine too. Dang. That sucks because on mine it looks fine. I'm looking at the
My iPad, my stream looks okay. Oh, wrong button. Alt tab. Sorry. I don't know what happened. It was always shitty, but now it's skipping. Actually, maybe it's a skippy. Is it still shooting on your end? That's funny. It looks good on my end. I don't know. That was uncalled for. I'm not sure why I'm in this mood tonight. I appreciate your stream. Wait. What was uncalled for? And giving you head underneath the table. Yeah, that's probably why. That explains a lot. Every IT profession knows getting head under the table fixes all computer issues. Yeah, thank you for the sub, Jay. 2 years, can you believe it? Start skipping. It'll probably do it again. I'm running a lot of software right now. And post-processing and stuff for something as simple as that fucking chat box over there. But, real quick, I got to pee, so I'll be right back, okay? Speaking of getting head on the table, what the fuck happened to Lycan? Dude, I don't know. Like, he streams like twice a week, and it's usually just like an hour of Rocket League. I miss when he played good games, but I'll be right back. Be right back. Hey! Sus. Sussy bot. I got my underwear in there. Bitch, I'm about to take your underwear off. I'm gonna put the fucking... Why won't you...
Get him out of here! Let me keep his coat.
Heyo. Ew. Ew. Damn, dude. What the fuck were you drinking? You rocking it. Date one of my sisters. But only Cyber. But he's taken, so he can't. Well, you know, after pick me when you need me.
Oh shit, why did that scare me? No! Oh, I jumped a little bit. That's pathetic.
Man, I am thoroughly enjoying this already, and it's been like 10 seconds.
Okay. Oh, Jesus. Oh, fuck. Damn, bro. You okay, Carlos? Is your oil okay?
Without her face. From inside box, scent of mommy. Maybe true mother there. Stone box hard. It hurt. Steel rope in the way. Can't see mother because 4 stones. Yeah, not only is like half my friends' grammar bad, they also don't use punctuation. So I feel like I have to read their text like this sometimes. Not naming names. Still would. Oh god. Hey. Alright, nobody panic. I'm back. Okay. Joey is supposed to send me updates, but he hasn't sent shit. Oh, no, I did. I literally did. I was like, he said this. Right, he's fine.
I'm into this.
Fucking liar.
Okay. Alright. Okay, right.
Oh wait, I gotta change scenes.
I got my
There we go.
patties. Crumpets.
Nice.
Spread out! Stand formation! Just another bug.
Is it fucked up? Did you fix it? No. No, it's okay. I'm just gonna leave that there. So I can have nice things. I spent too much time rigging this goddamn level.
I hope you do.
I'll fix it as soon as I can pause this. Because I have to alt-tab out. I'll do it after the cutscene. I really wish I could just make it like a refresh thing on my stream deck. It still might be, actually. I'm not entirely sure. Alright. This is bullshit. Let's mix it up. Properties. Fresh. Ignore all this. Where'd it go? Where's the game? Firebot over mixed up. Yeah, I know. It's just lazy. I have to do everything. Wait, real talk? Where's my game? AVP. Okay. Here we go. Whoa. Wait, he's in again. It's over there. You can't see me. Just tell me to go. Hang on. It's like guiding me straight up.
Another busted fuse box.
There, I'll go this way. Chucky looks like the doll I used to. Oh. Damn it, Ken! I'm like 10 words in. Chucky looks like the doll I used to masturbate when I was young. I'd put it between my legs and ride it. Amazing head I'd given myself. LOL. May I ask what kind of doll it was?
Stand down.
Talking like Cabbage Patch, Bath Time Baby, or fucking Ken.
Stand down.
Reminds me of the extra large G.I. Joe. It's just took up my ass to masturbate. Yeah, we all did that, didn't we?
Xenos don't like fire.
Is that a good thing? Engaging target!
Oh, shit. Oh, Lord, they're coming.
Don't let your guard down.
Better not. Better not. Oh, don't you dare. Don't you do it.
Red clip.
guard down.
Xenos don't like fire. Now, is that movement?
Is that a good thing? Reload!
I'm low. Engaging!
You can't see me.
Don't relax just yet.
Okay. I'll play your game.
I'm out!
I got it. Hiding space. Right here.
I feel like I'm the xenomorph in Alien 3.
You hear that?
Bitch. It reminds me of my superhero action figures. He went in my ass. Beast Boy. Then came out Beast Man. Nice. There was a Cabbage Patch or Baby Doll. The mouth would usually be slightly open, and one of the hands would be folded into a fist. Now, I have to ask, did you take advantage of that fist? Sorry. Actually, I guess that is where I'm going.
This place is falling apart. That's Wayland Buchanan for you. Shiny on the outside.
Oh, they got motion trackers.
Getting jumpy.
Don't let your guard down.
Wait, you don't see me, do you?
Don't relax just yet, Marine.
What? Nothing?
Don't relax just yet, Marine.
Nice. For the hole.
Don't let your guard down.
Right here. Right here.
I heard you.
The shaman asked me, but to answer the question, yes. Yes, I did. That's a good answer.
Ram that here.
Atta girl.
Don't relax just yet, Marines.
Don't let your guard down. Is that moving? You hear that?
No shooting at. No, you shushing the man and using your tail to make him look at you. Not you shushing the man and using your tail to make him look at you. Yeah. Also, I can hit to get their attention. And lure them somehow. Wait. What is it? Oh, I got windy with that. Do I have like an objective? Find a way out of the sewers. Oh! That's where it came from. Yeah, I want to make sure there's no like. I need a yellow tape to tell me where to go. Oh, probably over here. This is low-key a little disorienting. Figured it out. Get in the vent. Now you're saying add a girl to me. I'm getting wet over here. It's a strand of my hair. Oh, I can't do it because I have no arms right now, but I know what you're talking about. It's funny.
You certain this room is secure?
Anywhere on this rock.
Shut the fuck up, will ya? Stay here.
I'll investigate.
How do they know how to cut the power? This isn't my war.
Shit, I was already wet. Yeah, Paul's already always wet, if I'm not mistaken. Nice. There's always a way out, buddy. Can that hurt me? No. Wait. Oh, damn it, there's a big circle. I wonder if I could just go over it though. Yep. What's up, dude? Hey, what's up, Double? How you doing, man? You missed my my glorious death on screen. Ooh, baby, when you talk to me like that in that voice, I'm like a moist towelette down there. You're gonna be a soaked towelette by the time I'm done. Leave me alone. I don't want trouble.
I knew we were fucked when the Marlin went down. It ain't over.
Don't let your guard down.
Don't relax just yet, Marines.
Oh, I can auto heal. That's nice. What? I don't think for the sub, bro. Appreciate it.
There. I lost it.
I'm nowhere. I'm like the wind, baby.
Keep your shit together.
Don't let your guard down.
This place is getting to me.
Hunker down.
Fuck off. I feel like Spider-Man, but fucked up.
Don't relax just yet, Marines. Tag and bag here. Find a fire.
Reloading.
Thank you for the sub, bro.
Don't let your guard down.
Something not right over here.
Don't relax just yet.
Love it.
Where is it? Don't relax just yet, Marine.
It's here! It's here!
Don't you do it! Don't you do it! Oh, that killed me. Damn it. Here, glass cannon over here. Oh, I'm gonna do all that over again? That took too long to register the subscription. Oh, did you sub? It's sucking. Yeah, I know. This is the first time I played this game in, I would
Don't let your
say
guard down.
at least 7 years. Maybe even 8. We were roommates when I played this shit.
Squash that.
Put it up.
Where the hell to go?
Don't relax just yet, Marines.
Good thing I have health regen.
Don't relax just yet, Marines.
Must be hearing things.
I have to reply to this. But what's everybody up to? What are you guys doing tonight?
They took him apart.
It's gone to ground.
Nice. Me too. That's low-key why I decided to use an avatar tonight. I was like, they'll never know. It's just this guy? It's just you left? No! Fucking stop it! Stop attacking me while I'm doing shit, bitch.
Shit! It's gone! Yeah.
I think I saw some royal jelly over here. And there's probably some more. Actually, I'm gonna see if I can kill that fucking turret too. Can I? No. Man, you can in the fucking older PC ones. That was actually my original intention. I was gonna play either AVP 1 or 2 from like 2000. And it was just too much work to get working. Are you using an avatar? I thought this is how you look. No, this is the same height, but yeah, this is not how I look usually. What's up, you boy? You missed my chest burst.
Are you done yet?
You don't think I'm going as fast as I can?
I want to be out of here before the power goes again. Those things come back.
You didn't see what those things did to poor Hannigan.
Who else is here with us?
Nothing. Nobody. What are you up to, you boy? Let his guard down. Yeah, fucking noob. So, Ken, did you sub? I'm not sure I was following what you said. So, thanks. Have you played this before, dude? Okay. Actually, wait, is there any... What? Oh, raid? Oh, Zara. Thanks, bro. Thank you so much for the raid, my boy. Appreciate you. How you doing, man? How was your stream? What were you playing?
This is Ops. Xenomorph readings in your area.
Was that movement?
Stay frosty.
It's here, it's here! Here!
Where's this bug?
Sorry, what's up, Zara? What's going on in your neck of the woods?
It's right here.
Don't kill me. Just checking out Dark Light Survivor. It's pretty fun. Oh, that's the like a multiplayer one, right?
You hear that?
Yeah, double. What's up, Brewster? Yeah, I'm playing the 2010 hit AVP.
Hear that?
No. Ah, motherfucker! Oh, dude, Mikulov's like whole mouth kind of split open. It's a roguelike. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Roguelike games are really hard to sell for me. Just because I get frustrated easily when I'm like, oh, dude, I made amazing progress. And then, because of one dumbass mistake, or the game's made bullshit hard, it's like, alright, now we'll start over. And I say this as somebody who's like addicted to Dead by Daylight, Binding of Isaac. Which, as far as I'm concerned, is the best roguelike ever made.
Don't let your guard down.
I mean, I'm not wrong. That shit's frustrating. Also, like the art style here, where it's like they're trying to go for something kind of real, but because it's 2010, they couldn't. So they're like, oh, let's just make it all kind of cel shaded-y, kind of. This is SP? No, Alien vs Predator. What's SP? What do you mean? Special? Silly putty? I play a lot of roguelikes. Losing progress is fun. I wish. I mean, they can be sometimes. I actually really liked Dead Cells too.
Security!
Single player. Oh, yeah. Even though, dude, this game actually kind of had an underrated multiplayer when it came out. I'm not sure if it's still supported, but they had a few things. There's basically like AVP mode, right, where it's just like, you know, last man standing kind of thing. And there was a phenomenon that would happen, right? Because you see how every time I do a stealth kill, I'm like vulnerable for a while. So what would happen is I would be doing a stealth kill, right? And then somebody comes behind me while I'm doing a stealth kill, and then they'll do a stealth kill, and somebody gets behind them while they're doing that stealth kill, and they get a stealth kill. So there was like weird like stealth kill trains that would happen. It was stupid, but like kind of fun. And there was also an infestation mode where it was just like 6 Marines and like a Xenomorph, and then if they all kill the Xenomorph, it's fine. But if the Xenomorph gets a kill on somebody, that player gets resurrected as another Xenomorph until they start getting outnumbered, you know? That was pretty fun. And there was like a tug of war, like if the Marines can be outnumbered and still kill them all, and I think you get like extra experience and shit. The multiplayer is fun when a bunch of Marines are doing last stand against some aliens, yeah. Dead Cells is probably my favorite, but I think you have to play it all the time to be any good. Yeah, the game's pretty rough, and I did really like it when I played it, but that was like so long ago. What can I interact with? What was that? Oh, it's the transition. I love the multiplayer.
Contact your supervisor.
Oh, so you have this. Yeah, no, that was good. Oh! Can I jump through? Can I let me? Yeah. Oh, cool, cool. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see, maybe we can what I said. Back in the 90s, I was playing Team Fortress? C? What's TFC? Campaign. Oh shit.
I've got unexplained readings. Stay alert. What the? You hear that?
Tennessee Fried Chicken, I think. Team Fortress Classic. Okay. Nice. You know, I don't want to be a stereotype or nothing, but fried chicken sounds good right now, bro.
Don't relax just yet, Marine. Hear that?
Oh, hell. I see me.
Hiding someplace.
Okay. Oh, he's a shotgun. Yeah, man, how far back did that set me? Oh, it's not that far. That's fine.
I've got unexplained readings. Stay alert. What time? Don't let your guard down. Don't let your guard down. You ain't safe. Don't relax just yet, Ruby.
This is my third or fourth playthrough of this game. My main motivation was I just really wanted the chest burst on stream. You know what I mean? So, you weren't here earlier, but through my spectacular acting, it wasn't even that convincing. I was just saying I'm sick, I don't feel good. And then I chest bursted, and then I transitioned from Batman Arkham to this game. I had a whole ass intro, dude. Credits.
Shit, there it is. It was there a second ago.
Yeah, the main part in any of these is usually like a fucking horror game, basically.
Round about here.
Okay. Hell yeah, brother. Alright, what else we got? Wrong button. Oh, you didn't see me. How's it coming on stream for real? Yeah, I did. I recreated my my Yu Yu Hakusho. No, it was Yu Yu Hakusho. It was just the stream live. And for more, subscribe to my OnlyFans. My dumbass was taking a nap. I mean, if anybody really wants to, maybe I might be able to do it again.
Is that movement?
I mean, it only works, you know, like 8 hours on it. It's no big deal. Okay, relax. Have a good night. Yeah, peace out, Zara. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Everybody, follow Zara. That's an order. I order you. Hang on, let me see if I can do this over here. Does this work on my laptop? Yeah, boy. Who's crying? I read a racist joke, can't stop laughing. Well, share with the class. As long as there's no slurs, no slurs on stream, please.
Grenade in your pants.
Okay. You're into that stuff, all jokes are racist jokes when Jay tells them. Right? It can be like the most like heartwarming and an innocent joke, but out of his mouth you're like, oh, that hurt. Why do black people exist? To make culture for all you boring people. Make good shit for you guys to steal and take credit for. I thought that would work. Let's see. Can I climb the fence?
Don't relax just yet.
Why did the chicken cross the road to get away from all the crime due to the rising
Don't let
immigrant
your guard
population?
down.
Oh, Ken. Wow, really? Yeah, Ken. What the fuck? Oh. Come on. I can't really interact with this. Oh, wait, can I? Let me in! Let me in! Oh, there's a vent. No, because one Jew survived the oven.
We need to lock down this area. Get back to the gateway.
Hear
Fast.
That's right, get it. It's a correlation between one Jew and black people.
Don't let your guard down. Don't relax just yet, Marines.
Is it like another target? Is that the joke?
Was that movement? Whoa! Fuck! It's here!
Launcher, let me do that to you. Nice. Oh, fuck. I gotta reply to this. I'm sorry, guys. I think we're not going to let their guard down. Nice.
Somebody! Open the door, please!
I got movement beyond 25.
Nice, getting the hang of it. You're next. Let's go! Did you just fuck that guy with your tail till he died? Basically. What up, Barrett? How you doing, man? Barrett, you also missed my glorious death. I'm so proud of it. I might do a encore soon.
Getting jumpy.
What are you up to, man? What if he, instead of a chest burster, they were crotch bursters, right? Or butt bursters? I feel like that's the path of least resistance, to be honest.
It's in the open.
Oh shit, wait, actually? Separate them somehow.
Keep your head down! Engage your target!
What did you do? Here, I'll just show you guys. So, pretend I'm not, like, here, let me just, this is what happened, basically. I was playing Batman Arkham Asylum, right? And I was like, I don't feel good, kind of thing. And then I acted like I was gonna take a quick break, and I did this. It's not about you, Ken. It's about me. I want to shout out to the new people that showed up. So fuck off. It's only 2 minutes. Mr. Trip Fox played it 3 times. Nice. That's impressive, man. Good job. Thank you. It was a lot of work. I legit rigged that model. Yeah, 2 minutes that followed up with a 3-minute ad video. Well, if somebody subbed, they wouldn't have any ads. Just saying. And speaking of ads, there's one coming up in a minute. Oh, I got snoozed. Whoever did that, thank you. Thanks. Can't have that happen twice. At least I think it ended and then the ad started. It was just the intro to the actual game. It's for my my 2-year or my 2nd affiliate anniversary. Except as a reminder to Canada sub. Yeah. Or don't. It's fine. I can accept the quarter of a penny per view. That works too. All right, let's go back. Thanks for snoozing that. Oh shit! I forgot. Oh damn! You can see me.
I'm out.
Nice. Here, let me do that too. That's your job to sub me, Paul. I can't give you head for no sub. I mean, how many subs has he given you? And have you given any?
Don't relax just yet, Marines.
Hear that?
Hello, my boy Paul. That's right, just subscribe. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Thank you for the sub. What a bitch. Yeah, that's pretty good. I saw it was a gift. I was like, thank you, Paul. Thank you, bro. Wait, 15 roll jelly containers. Oh, it's probably between all my other playthrough.
Shit, there it is.
Yes, understood. Like, aye, Captain. Heads or tails, your choice. That's smooth. What's my objective? Up at the Marine. Okay. A few more of these guys left. Run around until I find one. I'm fucking fast. Oh. Where are they at? No. There he is.
I'm not dying like this.
Yeah, you are. Did they just add Badlands DLC to this game, or is that a different Predator game? That's a different one. That's Predator. Your boy, what's the Predator game that you keep wanting us to play with you?
Move 25 and out. Watch that one.
This is kind of wait. Trick question. Since they're gay, they obviously want the kids. They're leaving it. Oh wait, but no seriousness. If two black guys get married, which one decides to leave the kids? Both? Is that the joke? It's kind of anything goes, chat, but if we draw the line, we start joking about two men getting married. The Marines out. There's gotta be more than left. Predator 2, Escape the Island, Kid Edition. No, it's like Predator... What the fuck is that game called? It's not Badlands, it's the movie. I'll find it. Predator Commandos or something. It's like... Up my phone. Well, that joke went to waste. Hunting grounds. Yeah, thank you. There was some shit like that. What was the fucking punchline? I asked. I didn't know. do it. Yeah, boy. Trying to bait me into an Escape from Monkey Island joke. Above that kind of humor. That's pretty good. Nice. I have all of those, by the way. I would like to stream some adventure games one day. Here? Oh, actually it is. Oh, it's power loader. Oh, no, it's not.
Target is inside the compound. Wait for my mark.
I hear them. I want to stream. Oh, wait, all the King's Quest, Police Quest. Oh, I never even heard of Police Quest. I knew about King's Quest and Space Quest. And Quest for Glory games. I want to stream some. Bro, have you heard of Dead as Disco? Have you played it? No, I have not played it. I've heard of it. It looks great. I want to play that one. I want to buy it. That looks fun. Oh, what the fuck? We got mines? Joey! If you guys like point-and-click adventures, I promise the Dream Machine is really good. You must play ASAP. The Dream Machine is actually one that is on my radar. Is it on Steam? Watch it be in my library. Ugh, ads. Yeah, shame. I still get my health back, which is nice. It's a trap. He's gonna go like, now! Some shit like that. Man. Let me in! It's like power lines or some shit. What do I do here? So why is this like I'm gonna get like a fucking Iron Man attack me? I hate Domino's. I love Domino's. Yeah, it's on Steam. Oh, nice. I'll try to make a little reminder. Because I would like to stream games that you guys want to watch, you know? I think most of it I'm just like playing whatever bullshit comes to mind. Yeah. How do? How do and where do? From building? I can't do adventure games for a while, though. Paul really wants me to do the next SMT after Final Fantasy VI. It's insanely good. Anyways, you need to play that game, man. At least download the demo. You know what's funny? I think I have the demo. I just haven't played it yet. Hey, for real. Where do I go? Generator, can I kill that? I feel like I can get in this build. Jay, play fucking 9 Souls. It keeps losing all the polls. Also, if you have music on your PC, you can load that music into the game and play the tracks as combat songs. Can I just use any audio? Can I just use like the audio from like porn? That'd be kind of funny. Dog, I don't know where to go. That's the event I was already in. Let me try a different event. This event I just... No, actually... Yeah, that's what I came out of. What about this one? Ram Ranch audio. What's Ram Ranch? Is that porn? It sounds like porn. Oh, I thought maybe we'd connect this way. It has enough BPMs, LOL. I'll check it out. Maybe I should start doing polls to see what you guys want me to play. Oh, I've never heard of it. There we go. Maybe this one. Ooh. Okay, so this way I got in. Maybe this way.
No,
Thank God.
no way.
Stay inside! What the fuck are you doing?
Real talk. Is this sexual harassment if a little person tells you that your hair smells good? No, kid. I mean, it's probably sexual harassment if anybody, like, depends on how they're doing it. Is he like up in your shit and be like, man, your hair smells good? Or if like, then you walk by and you'd be like, oh, dude, hey, your hair smells really good. You know, I guess it really depends on your tone.
Over here! It worked! It walked right into it! We have you now. Oh yeah, look at the size. I think it's love at first sight, Adam. Little bits don't look too happy now. Okay.
What if I lick my lips and make eye contact while I tell you? If the person is trying to snoof you, then yeah, I would say so.
No way out. You stay back, fucker, and fire that up against the spot. I'm not going in. Torch the place. Where did it go? Jay!
Hey, don't kill me.
What the fuck is going on out there?
I'm doing
Somebody
execution
talk
kills.
to me! Report in! Do you copy? You hear that?
Why do you automatically know where I'm at, motherfucker?
Don't let the guard down.
Blap, motherfucker.
It's here!
You smell my hair, baby?
Multiple casualties. Anybody still alive? Report
Yeah, I guess that
in.
matters. Yeah, which hair? Head hair or...
Generator down. It's taking out the power.
We're animals, man. How did they know to do that? I'm gonna cut the power. Game over. Game over, man.
Shit. Another generator down. Losing lights.
Losing lights in the daytime. Fuck. Here we go. Extra hacking.
Security breach. Containment procedures executed. Warning. Here. Offline. Maintenance has been notified.
I heard you. Sounded like it came from here.
Fuck in here, actually. Okay. Keep pressing E to try to go these ones and shit.
You hear that?
It didn't work. It's all over.
Don't
Don't
let
let
the
the guard
Stop
down.
moving.
We need to get the fuck out of here.
You hear that?
He's in the walls.
You hear that?
He's in the goddamn walls. Oh. Oh.
I ain't going in there.
Here.
Can they see me? Actually? Some of these vents seem stupid small for them to be using.
Coming over.
Is that movement?
I'm a young blood. I'm a little BB.
Hear that?
Nice! Okay, I didn't think that was gonna work.
Notification. Stay at your posts. Productivity must not be
Don't
compromised.
relax just yet, Marines. It's here! It's here!
No, it's not. Shut up. Oh shit! That's Marco. Oh fuck! Wait. No. So this up. Okay. He's got the big guns. I wonder, how do aliens fuck? Do they have genitals, or do they like they do in porn videos, or do they like plants and photosynthesis? Maybe I'm calling bullshit, but a small hole vents you've been using. I don't know. I think I have to see it not in a first person perspective, you know, to be able to tell, but I don't know. The xenomorphs are crafty little motherfuckers. And no can. Have you seen these movies? Real question. Have you seen the alien movies? Because the whole point of these movies is how they reproduce. And it is not sex.
Stay at your posts. Productivity must not be compromised.
I mean, in the traditional sense at least. So hole is a goal.
Fuck, it's here!
Stop doing shit. Get down. Fight.
Control room lockdown. Contact supervisor for guidance.
The wrong host.
You motherfucker! He blew up. Have to do all this again? Yes.
We're all dead out there. It didn't work. It's all over.
Get a grip on yourself, Marine.
We need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, you do.
It's in the open. You hear them?
Wait. That was stupid on my end. His guard was up. Yeah, it was. I've watched all of them. I just don't remember in terms of much of a reproduction. So the whole point is that they have a queen who asexually makes a bunch of eggs, and then those produce the face huggers, which attach to hosts, and then those cause people to chest burst, like good old me here. And yeah, and then these grow into the xenomorphs, the aliens. And the cool thing about them is that depending on who the host is, they come out different. Like in Alien 3, depending on which version you see, it was either a dog or an ox, depending on the version.
Get a grip on yourself,
it's a
Marine.
fast bipedal doggy xenomorph, and that's like my favorite design of them.
You hear that?
Yeah, you hear that?
You ain't taking me.
Idiot.
Stand down.
Stay at your posts. Productivity must not be compromised.
Don't let your guard down.
Dude, 3 sucks. 3's fine. I think there's something to enjoy in all of them. And I do think the assembly cut is the way to watch it.
Don't lack
I know it was a mess. I know it was a mess production, but I don't know. I enjoy what we got.
Your supervisor for guidance.
It's here!
Alright, this motherfucker.
You picked the wrong host.
Stay at your posts.
Nice, we're gonna learn. I can't hate you for it though. I love 4. The movie's awful. Yeah, dude, I would argue 4 is worse. But that one has like all the action in it, you know? Damn. You probably hate me for this. I unironically thoroughly enjoy Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Now, is it a good movie? Fuck no. But it has some of the most gruesome kills of either of the Alien and Predator franchises, you know what I mean? I hate you for this. Yeah, I know you do. Actually, no, you're fine. I feel like you do accept us, Jay. They coming? What do we do?
Don't relax just yet, Marine. Don't let your guard guard
No, I was only mentioning the hating thing because I love you, Barry, but we both know you are not above crashing out. I agree, it has cool kills, but that movie sucks so bad. It's not even fun bad. I don't know, man. I think it's pretty fun bad.
Just yet, Marines. Tracker's got something.
There's a fucking Predalien queen, right? And it like attaches its face to a pregnant woman, and it shoves eggs in her. And later on, she does like little belly bursters, dude. That's awesome. And then what else happened in Requiem? Dude, they kill the love interest gruesomely. They do the whole like, oh, will they, won't they? No, a bitch gets cut in half in the middle of a hospital. I was like, fuck, let's go. Would you rather have your eyes gouged out by your genitals? Wait. Would you rather have your eyes gouged out and your genitals eaten off your body by rabid dogs, or would you have broccoli with every meal for the next 5 years? I'd probably go with the broccoli. I thoroughly like broccoli. Broccoli is good for you. It has awesome stuff in it. It's just not done well. Oh, and 4 is? Yeah, what the fuck?
Shit, there it is.
Yep, here I am. Take the bait. Bitch. Sick. See you.
Don't let your guard down.
Oh, nice. Bitch, I see you. What do you... He's killing me. That's fucked. Alright. 4 came out in 97, you bitch. Okay, and then Requiem came out what? 2004? It's not that much later. Who gives a shit when it came out? Coming out sooner doesn't make it better. No, it's turning me all the way back here.
It didn't work. We need to get the fuck out of here.
7-7. 07. Requiem was 07? Oh, and then you're right, because the first one was 04.
Hear that?
You're right. Oh shit. That didn't work out the way I wanted this time.
You hear that?
Get off the fucking wall. Get off the fucking wall. Easy then.
Don't relax just yet, Marine.
Don't relax.
I'm gonna die, but that's okay. Every two movies are both absolute 0 out of 10 garbage. Yeah, that's points to enjoy. Like I said, the gore, peak. At least for Requiem, that shit was good. The problem with Requiem, though, is you can barely see
Get a
it.
grip on yourself, Marine.
It's a very dark movie. But what is there? Just in its stupid, giddy, like I just want to watch teens get like melted and shit.
You hear that?
That's it. These aren't good movies, no.
It's in the open.
Oh damn! I know I can just do a critical headshot.
You hear that? Stand down.
Now we're down.
We lost one here.
Down, will you?
Alright, this game could do checkpoints a little better, and I could be playing better.
Wrong host.
To be fair. You're a little... There you go. A mess. I mean, to be honest, I'd rather explode than the kid by Xenomorph. Probably not. Maybe there's just some bragging rights being killed by Xenomorph.
Please ensure all security protocols are followed for your future safety and comfort.
Tracker's got something at long range.
Nothing?
Here. I need
back through here, I think. Big brain. I love MVP. It's not good, but it has some awesome shit in it. Plus, it's Alien vs. Predator. Come fucking on. Exactly. That's how I feel about both of them. Like, they're not good movies. They're not by any stretch of the imagination. They're these, on a critical level, good. But if you just want to watch some people get ripped apart by monsters, then yeah. Fucking motion trackers on them. How are you always looking at me? Nice. Is that it? What are we doing? Return to the hive? Oh, wait. Here's the hive. This way. E4. I was way further than that. Did you watch the new season of Daredevil or Punisher One Last Kill? Dude, I haven't seen that since, like, Daredevil Season 2. It's actually something I was talking about at work today. I'm significantly behind, and I want to catch up. Oh, fuck, I gotta watch The Boys tonight, though. There's too many shows, dude, and I don't have a lot of time. Meanwhile, I'm spending, like, late nights rigging a fucking chest burster for one stream.
Xenomorph is on the area. Designated target.
What fucking synths are you guys? You guys have like little monster faces. You guys have like ghosts from Call of Duty. You need to. I want to. It's on my list. I really did enjoy what I saw of Daredevil. I just fell off. I have no allegiance to any show, it seems. Except maybe like Supernatural. That show fucks.
These glyphs repeatedly reference the Xenomorph.
They actually pulled it off and surpassed the Netflix Daredevil era. Oh, really nice. That's good to hear, because everybody was like, man, Disney. I see the new Boys episode and Punisher One Last Kill. Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna watch the Boys tonight. In fact, what time is it? Yeah, I got like another level or two with me. What's this do? Oh, it's an EMP, isn't it? Are they coming to fix it? Anyway, into the locked building. Okay. The first season has its problems, but the second is... Oh yeah, well, because the first season of Born Again, they literally re-edited the show. They were like halfway done with it, and they were like, guys...
What do you think it is?
People aren't gonna like
I've
this.
seen
So
similar
what they did was they
features around here.
refilmed like the second half of it, and they edited in the first half, you know? It's like a hodgepodge. 1.6 billion fish are one director, bro. Yeah, nice. You can say no to that? You can just off him? Also, who else has a gun? Oh, it's you. I like how the synth looks scared. No, they had to redo that show. It's crazy that they pulled off and gave us what they had originally manufactured. Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I was getting at. They changed course mid-filming. So it's a hodgepodge of like two things that they pulled off. You know? Because I think originally what we were supposed to get is just like literally like a courtroom drama, and then like the last couple episodes would be like Daredevil shit. And they're like, no, we know what they want. Let's do that. Why does it look like a weird zombie? Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going back out there.
Different
You don't
manufacturer.
think you can get in here, do you?
These are the Kia synths.
We should be safe if we keep those doors shut.
Should be. Let's get in there. Let me tease him.
Keep quiet. It might hear us.
It hears you. What are you playing these days, Barrett?
How long do you think we'll have to stay in this place? I can't take much more of this.
I mean, what could it possibly want?
Apparently, Mouse PI. Oh, dude, I want to play that. That looks fun. Also been binging Leon Must Die Forever. I heard about that. Or I just saw a picture of it. What is that exactly? It's free DLC for. No, I knew that. But like, what is it? Like, what do you do with it? How the fuck do I open this? Let me in! Let me in! Oh.
Whoa, that's quite a drop. Shaft?
No, why did they do that? Don't kill me anymore. Stop shooting me, please. Where's that coming from? How many dead motherfuckers are shooting at me? Rouge Light? Yeah, that's funny. It's roguelike. Roguelite is runs of zones that you know in the game. Wrong word. You guys are funny. I like how literally, and we're not doing that right now, but like, one of my favorite things about arguing online is like, it can be like a well thought out argument, but the moment you fucking have a typo, dude, you're lost. Give up, bro. Are there? Rogue, whatever. Top like a retard, get treated like a retard. This one's dangerous. Oh wait, I can't swim. Two pressure plates. Where's the other one? This is kind of cool. Where's that other pressure plate at? Oh, is this it? There we go. Same time? There we go.
I'm not dying like this.
Yeah, you are. I'll see you in hell, motherfucker! What now? Oh, this is that locked building. Thanks, your boy. Oh yeah, those are for the Predator campaign. Hey, just a minute. It's not where I go. Here he is. I will say, traversal in this game is kind of fun. Is this the one Rebellion made? This is technically the third one Rebellion made, dude. So Rebellion made the Jaguar one, Rebellion made the first PC one back in like 2000, and then this is the reboot that they also made, yeah. So yeah, they're great devs. Yeah, they really are. I'm on a mission to play Road Trooper, the blue guy from fuck, what's the company that publishes Judge Dredd? But yeah, and then Monolith made Alien vs Predator 2 in like 2002, if I'm not mistaken, or 2001. I like Rebellion. Didn't Rebellion also make The Warriors? Wasn't that Rebellion? Like published by Rockstar, but I think it was made by Rebellion. Someone is trading through all the Sniper Elite eventually. I've only played like a couple of those. I couldn't even tell you which one. I didn't beat any of them. But I played the hell out of Soccer Hammer Trilogy on PS4. There we go. Dude, the Predator is so fucking cool. Boss fight? Oh boy. Oh, there's more. Yeah. There you go. Hey, fuck off, try to leave. Reload. No, I got it. Yeah, he kicked my ass. It's like that one Vice video where that dude jumped into the gang. And they're like, let me up. And he's like, God damn! God damn! You know what I'm talking about? It's like that. That's what I felt like. He missed. What's up, buddy? The music's nice too. Where'd he go? Dude, do you ever see those like videos? It's so like where it's like to be drunk. Like that's what this feels like right now. Here we go. honestly. Oh, really? This is your first? This is like your introduction? When you do the Predator campaign, are you gonna have dreads? I do have an idea for that. I do have an idea, but I won't tell. I wasn't paying attention to my health. I saw the red, and then yeah. Fuck. Is it the elite or is it all of them still? Okay, it's back to the elite. Good. I figured maybe kill all the other ones again. I've seen gameplay years ago when it came out, but that's it. My PC is Garbo, man. Well, I mean, the good news is this game came out in 2010, so you might be able to play it anyway. Unless it really is that Garbo. Shit, he's on my ass too. Leave me alone. I don't want trouble.
Secure the specimen for off-world transportation.
Something like that. Like it's like a psychic highlight link or whatever bullshit. Something to that effect. I kind of forget where they went with it. To be honest, this story is kind of hard to follow. Even if you play all three, you're like, what? But I think it's like having like because there's like a signal that they follow or whatever, like insects, like I think it's conflicting with another monster around. Good stream, but I'm gonna call it night. Yeah, I'm gonna call it soon. Thanks, bro. Well, I'm gonna probably finish this tomorrow. See ya. Peace out, bro. Jay, give yourself a shout out if you're here. I guess I can do it for you too. I gotcha. Everybody follow Jay.
Maybe the car would be better. Try the car.
That's what's happening. You can't tell. I'm metamorphosing.
Oh no! Well, that would be a mistake. We want the bike. We're going back.
involved. Yeah, that's what it was. Because I'm confusing campaigns. There is another Xeno creature, which is, I'm sure you can guess it's a Predalien, but that's in the Predator campaign. It's not in this one. Also, I like how I think the mouth tracking is a bit better right now. Better than it was earlier. It's not perfect, but yeah, whatever. Who gives a shit? It gets the job done. Okay, so yeah. Predator's done. I guess next up is the Marine. And then the Predator. Yeah, Alien, Marine, Predator. I think that's how it's supposed to... That's how the story progresses. Because, like, aliens, they break out, wreck shit, and then the Marines have to clean it up, and then the Predator comes in with, like, other shit. Squishy Wishy Lee! What's good? Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate that. You came right as I finished the campaign for the Alien. But what's up? How you doing? How was your stream? What were you playing? Here, let me give you a... Wishy... Lishy. Is that, did I do this right? No, hold on. I don't know how to spell your name. Hang on, let me do it over here. I'm gonna have to alt tab out because I'm yeah, you know how it is with these old games. Shout out Squishy. What's good, Squishy? What were you playing? Zip. Here? What is this? What is this? I know what this is. I've seen this. What the fuck is that? That was cool. Outlast? Oh, wait, is it Outlast? Some Aliens Fireteam Elite? Oh, that's what you're playing? Nice.
Oh, he blew himself up!
No, this isn't Outlast. What is this?
That worked out in my favor. You should clip that as well.
But thank you so much for the raid. What up, everybody? My name is Shattered Limit. That's Amnesia the Bunker. Oh, dude, I haven't played any of those, really. I played, like, a little bit of the first one in the computer lab at art school, like, a decade ago. Oh my god, it was over a decade ago. It's like 13 years ago. Oh my god, I was just guessing. Yeah, no, it was a good guess. I could see it until I saw the gun, you know? But yeah, my name's Shattered Limit. I'm a variety streamer. I play lots of random shit. I did play all the Resident Evils on stream, spin-offs and all, except Requiem, because that came out later. And believe it or not, there's more Resident Evil games I want to stream. There's like some mobile games I want to play. There's like the Generation for the Nokia N-Gage that I'm going to stream. There's like 4 Java games I'm going to stream. I make it tradition to rate anyone playing Alien games. Oh, dude, nice. How often does it happen? Because I knew I should stream Requiem. I wanted my... I'll get to that. I settled on this just because it's quick and dirty. Because today's my 2-year or my second affiliate anniversary. Well, technically it was yesterday, but I couldn't stream yesterday. But anyway, I almost streamed Alien 3 for the Super Nintendo. A very solid game. Don't let the movie fool you. What about the Leon beat 'em up Resident Evil game? That's not an official release. I don't think I'll ever play that one. If you're talking about the one I think you're talking about, I'm probably not going to stream that one. I mean, I might if it's fun. But yeah, as far as Requiem goes, Nightwolf, I really just wanted my first stream. My first playthrough of that to just, be immersed. I love Resident Evil too much to kind of put on a show. I wanted to be scared, you know? Hey, thank you for the follow. I get it, man. Hell yeah. Well, I wasn't planning on keeping going, but I'll do a level of the Marine. I can play the Marine a little bit. Yeah, let's do that. But yeah, no, I really wanted to make a big thing for my second affiliate anniversary. So earlier, it was me on stream. Nightwolf saw it, and then I chest bursted, and then I transitioned to this. Let's try to be clever with it. Yeah, let's play Marine with Tequila. I remember there's a girl in here named Tequila, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, congrats on your second. Thank you, bro. That's sick. Oh my god. Yeah, you know what? Here. I'm gonna do it again, but I'll end it short. I just want you to see me chest burst. I worked hard on that shit. Like, Ken gave me shit because I showed it, and Paul encouraged me. He's like, show it like 3 times on stream. So for the newbies, I'll do it. Okay, bear with me. All right. Whoa! It's already happening. It's 2 minutes. Sorry. I'm gonna go get some water. I'm a massive Alien super fan, so saying this will be sick. Yo, thank you. I'm gonna go get some water. All right, enjoy the show. I'll be right back. And then this is my just chatting screen. So I actually went to go pee also. Came back just in time. Oh my god, all the production value. Thank you. Little fun fact, I'm a motion graphic designer. And like a general artist, so I like making a bunch of my own shit here. I did not model this, but I did rig it. And then yeah, the compositing for the chest burst. I had a lot of fun with it. That's really cool. Thank you so much. I think you said you're a massive Alien super fan. I am too. In fact, fuck, you can't see it, but I have Aliens on right next to me, and I have the Alien quadrilogy right here. All right. I'll play a little bit of the Marine campaign now. And then I'll watch the movies, or it gets spoiled for me. All right, we'll do Marine right now. But
coming in
what are you
low
up to?
and
Squishy, you said you're playing some.
Still nothing from
are
the
you
surface?
excited for fuck, what's it called? Aliens.
Understood, Marlo. We're
What is it? 2? The second one. I saw that trailer. It looks hype.
unknown vessel detected. Shit! It just appeared out of nowhere.
Marlo, you reading this?
Squadron? No, that's Star Wars.
Shit.
Plushies on my desk, my blanket. I got the role-playing. Oh, I was wanting to play that role-playing game. Comics Man, you name it. And I probably got it. Yes, I'm so excited.
Come in, Marlo.
You know the original black and white comics? I have that whole collection. I have some of Aliens Survival from the 90s.
The Marlo's gone.
I have most of the games.
Last wave inbound.
I have a chest burster that came with this game, funny enough.
That means you too.
But I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. That's my jam. But the Alien is just...
Didn't they cover this in simulation?
Even top 3.
Tequila, get the kid on his feet.
Tequila, I knew it.
Rookie, you still with us?
Dibs.
Come on, Private. Let's get you on your feet.
Guys, I think I have a chance.
Okay, listen up. We have a potential xenomorph infestation here. That's right, a bug hunt. So make sure you nail your targets at a distance.
I didn't finish the game. I was streaming Roaming Culture in VR a few months ago. I also do love Resident Evil. What's your favorite game? My favorite game? far my favorite Resident Evil game.
All right, Marines, time to secure
Resident Evil's
the
my favorite
area.
franchise, but my favorite
Take a look inside.
game of all time is Metal Gear Solid 1. If she dies and you survive, you still lose. Yeah, I know, right? You like
Got
6.
something.
Dude, I'm
Movement
a 6
right on
defender.
top of us.
Resident Evil game? Ooh. Fuck, that's a question. It usually goes back to 1. There's something about the mansion that gets me all giddy. But I'm also a sucker for Resident Evil 2 remake and Resident Evil 4, both of them. But if I had to pick one, it's probably just gonna be the OG. I can play that game with. I was gonna say with my eyes closed. I'm exaggerating, but I know that game back and forth. I'm a sucker for Revelations 1. Revelations 1's good.
You, kid. Take your time.
You like 6? I do like 6. I played it before Requiem came out. I know what I'm talking about. 6 is fucking garbage, man. You know it. Don't tell me what I think. It's not. Like, here's the thing. I will say, and I will go as far as to say,
you'll feel better.
It's not a good Resident Evil game, but it's a great action game, bro. It's got the most like in-depth fucking 3D or third-person character controller I've ever fucking experienced at the time, at least. People were like, "Hey, you can't move and shoot." It's like, all right, maybe you can roll on the floor, you can fucking jump backwards while shooting. It's like Max Payne with zombies.
Power's down all over the college.
And it's some of the best co-op I've ever fucking played. I like 6. You don't have to like it, that's fine. But I like 6.
If you need more light,
it sucks, man.
Flare.
That's just your opinion, man. The menus of 6 give me ADHD death. I do not enjoy it. It's really bad.
By the basement. I'll send an objective marker
that's what
to
you
your heads-up display.
You think it's bad, I think it's good. No, it's not. That's a fact. Is that why they keep re-releasing it? No, it's got to be the best rendition of Wife Ada. No, actually, to me, the best rendition of Waifu Ada is Resident Evil 2 remake. Which is flying. Where am I going? Okay. I guess I do gotta go this way. Can I go around? Oh yeah, I can.
You should be clear of friendlies, so if anything moves, shoot it.
Alternate fire with mouse 2. I love Resident Evil, and you know this. 6 is horrible, and Requiem was their apology for it.
Got trouble in the refinery.
I mean,
I gotta go off.
Acknowledge it had a mass rejection from people, but I still think it's a good game. Like I said, it's not a great representation of Resident Evil. It's basically like if Resident Evil was made by Michael Bay. And there's some enjoyment in that. Play Silent Hill? Yeah, I love Silent Hill. I like Resident Evil more, but yeah, Silent Hill fucks. My favorite one is honestly between 1 or 3. You play it this year, then tell me it's still good. Dude, I played it like 5 months ago. Like I said, dude, it's okay if you don't like it. It's also okay that I do. So, what up? Really? Damn, finally someone with an actual opinion. Where'd I go? Is there more stuff to shoot? I like it. I love the original quadrilogy. Oh, Resident Evil? Or, oh, Silent Hill. Yeah. The Room was kind of underrated. I think that was like the scariest one at the time. Wait, hold on, I'm missing something. This won't open, right? Okay, I'll go back here. Oh. Wait, is this where it came from? Sorry, I also have a shit sense of direction. Oh, even though there's a fucking motion tracker telling me where to go, that's awesome. What's your favorite Silent Hill? 2 was my entry, but I enjoyed 1 and 3 more later on. Still got an original PS2 copy around here somewhere. I own all of them. I never get to play Silent Hill 4. I could never get a copy, so I can't make any real statements on that one. Yeah, if you want, I can go get my collection. Show it off. The only one I don't have, actually, is 1. And, wait, no. I used to have the PSP copies of, Shattered Memories and Origins, but I sold them after I modded my PSP like a dum-dum. And those are hell expensive now. But I have 2, 3, and 4. I have a way to see the version of 2 that has the extra Born from a Wish. I almost said DLC.
BG-386. Not quite home away from home when the company staked its claim.
3 with the soundtrack, and I have 4.
But here at Weyland-Yutani, we see beyond the immediate.
Homecoming on 360 and
shaping new worlds for every man, woman, and child.
Yes, 3.
Weyland-Yutani, building better worlds.
And then I inadvertently gave my copy of I think it was Downpour, right, Barrett? To you? I'll let you borrow it, and then we didn't talk for like 3 years. You can just keep it. This is a streamer I can get behind. Oh, that means a lot.
BG-386. Not quite home away from home when the company staked its claim.
Appreciate that.
But here at Weyland-Yutani, we see beyond the immediate.
I'm not gonna cry.
Shaping new worlds for every man, woman, and child.
If you cry, then I'm gonna cry.
Weyland-Yutani.
I wish they had made a Born from a Wish DLC for the 2 remake. Oh, dude, you know what? Why didn't they? That's actually a great point. They should have. Even though I like what they did with the 2 remake, and I'm really stoked to see what they do with the 1 remake. It's probably like a... I think this game has like audio logs and shit. Let's see. Now you got the trifecta Alien RE SH. You were goated. Thanks. I also have a shitload of Persona and Final Fantasy. Oh, bro, if you saw my video game collection, like that's one thing I'm very proud of. I have a lot of consoles and games for them. I have a television, like 79. I have an Atari, NES, Super Nintendo, Sukatuna Sus, N64, PS1, Dreamcast, Wii. What else do I have? Switch, PS2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I think I do have to go here. Xbox 360, Xbox One. Oh, Sam, hold on. The games. This system's like gold. Oh yeah, dude. Like I'm effectively a big importer. I'm so excited for the SH1 remake, man. Dude, same. Like I said, I love what they did with the 2 remake. I just, now that you mention it, I really wish that they had the Born from a Wish DLC. A lot of them have been packed up. Nice. It's funny, if I ever bring a girl over, I have to like give them a heads up. It's like, just so you know, like, just know what you're walking into. So a lot of them have been packed. Yeah, I was really surprised they never made it. Yeah, I didn't even think about that until like literally this conversation.
Still breathing. Good. Okay, rookie. We're gonna reset the system with the power breaker. It should be good. Now give it a moment. Then turn it back on. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now throw that lever again to reboot the system.
I got a lever for you, Becky.
What happened? I'm reading movement. Check your perimeter. Get out of there. Regroup with the goddamn walls.
Where do I do? Where do I go? I will say, I really do enjoy this game, but I think they nerfed the like, being able to kill a xenomorph with a handgun is crazy.
I've still got environmental.
You know what I mean? What do I do?
Diverting pressure to the pipes outside your room.
I wasn't really sure. I never checked on that. Well, actually, it must have been for them to actually put 1 remake in production.
Looks like you're clear, but it's still around somewhere.
I mean, it's total bullshit. Wait, what's bullshit? I'm sorry. Oh, that you can kill a Xenomorph with a handgun? Yeah. I mean, but it's fun, you know? At the end of the day, that's mostly what matters. Even though it is nice to have things accurately represented, but it's a good game.
Careful, rookie.
Lies. No, you're just a picky bitch.
Get it! Watch out! Not different blood, remember?
Oh, he killed me. Oh, I don't know that happened. Oh, 3 minutes? Damn. Oh, I can burst fire?
Confirm the kill, rookie. Get it!
Got him. You did this 15 years ago when you became my friend. Yeah. That's why I don't take it personally anymore.
Damn it! No,
I'm like, oh, Barrett. You gonna crash out. Oh. That's funny. I can hear your response. Try holding the gun sideways. Ah, dude, I would if I could. Is he behind me? On top of me.
Real shame the rookie got left
Just got
behind.
back. Nice. Yeah,
Sure,
it's
he's
funny.
wet
I was
behind
talking,
years,
and then you're like, I can't hear
but
the
he's
nads. I was
got
like, oh
heart.
yeah, that's right. You did
Maybe
dick.
that'll be enough to see him
No, I was
through.
basically saying, I'm just like,
Tequila
yeah,
out.
like, oh, I heard you say crash out, so they were talking some shit. Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, just like, because you said like you knew this 15 plus years ago when I met you, and I was like, exactly. It's like we have a differing opinion. You crash out, but I'm like, that's just Barrett. I just Barrett. He's just loud. His heart's in the right place, I think. Slide to the left, like my peen.
Whatever sank the Marlowe handed the Xenos a trunk.
It moves around sometimes,
This
though.
drop is shaping up worse
Like a
than
little
Ackerman.
fucking chest burster.
That's possible.
Ooh, I hear the predator. I get a flashlight. Oh, I do have a fucking flashlight, motherfucker. These are wasting flares. Stop predicting! Nice. Yo, you should be dead, so you should be. Oh, dude, 100%.
Franco.
Like, the only way I'll accept it, and it's just kind of like a thing that they did later on in the movies, I'm just like, if I had like a pulse rifle, I could hold my own, but these motherfuckers have like ambush tactics.
Guard duty.
Yo, Mr. White!
How come I always get the crappy details? Fucking tequila. Treats me like shit, but nursemates
I'd let
and you
Tequila
rookie.
treat me like shit. I love that girl.
Waste of fucking time.
Tequila.
No way that kid will make it through this.
Tequila! They give you a fucking pistol. Yeah, I know. I agree.
Storm here. So stay frosty, rookie.
So dumb. What's your favorite Resident Evil, Nightwolf? I don't know if it's called Nightwolf or just Barrett. I get tripped up. It's like a Goku Kakarot situation.
I'm picking up movement ahead of me.
Bitch. What the fuck? Oh, they did the Predator thing. Is he outside? Show yourself, coward. Or that's the easiest question you've ever asked me. Original 4 or Remake 4? I think Remake 4 is fantastic. I mean, they both are. But again, how do you improve on perfection?
I'm locked in the next room, but there's an emergency generator by the door. The generator takes power nodes. I saw some lying around out there.
I actually have a hard time answering that question because I feel like if you ask me like however I'm feeling, it's like my answer changes. Fuck, can't pick that up right now. Lame. OG4, but Remake 4 is god tier in terms of game mechanics. It's so fucking good.
Good job, rookie.
Tequila!
I guess we're even.
I'll be right there, my love.
Come on in and grab yourself a pulse rifle.
Grab you by the...
Hypersleep cannot come quickly
what's up?
enough. So desperate am I to
Did you say
jump the
original
weeks of
game
travel
PS2 or
between here
GameCube?
and what awaits
I
us
mean,
on
it's the
Freya's
same
prospect.
game, you know, but I'm pretty sure it just means like that iteration of it. Mercedes has never been better. PS2, yeah, because PS2 had the separate ways stuff. Even though I'd argue, I think it still plays and looks better on
What the heck
GameCube,
was Wayland
but my
Yutani up
introduction
to
was on the
down
PS2.
here? It's Xeno Central on
Here we
this
go.
rock, and these bugs
Didn't
don't
have a
just
GameCube. Yeah, I
pop
didn't
up
have a-
unannounced. And I
Yeah,
don't
I didn't
even
have a
want to
GameCube
think about the
forever.
hostiles that popped in out of nowhere and took out the Marlow. Anyway, listen, I think I can control some of the colony's systems from here.
All right. Power's back online.
Hey, baby.
Repeat.
This is Connor. My squad's in the club. We got power, lightning, ventilation. Everything but the booze is flowing. Hold up. Shit. We got movement. Guess we woke up the neighbors.
You ever had a chainsaw controller? No.
Requesting backup. There's some weird shit
I did
in
not.
here.
I wish I
Connor,
did.
I can give you one man. He's a little clumsy.
he's a fucking
He's
nightmare.
a Xeno killer, all right. Proceed to the club and give him some fire support. I gotta stay here and get the rooftop
even
sentries
comfortable?
back online. Give him hell, Ricky.
It looks like the most like unergonomic controller I've ever fucking seen. Non-ergonomic? I think that's the word I'm looking for. Not like this. No, I've held one. It's horrendous. Yeah, it didn't look fun. Like, I saw that thing and I was like, nah, I'll just play with the DualShock. That's okay. Thank you, though.
Shut that damn music off!
I ain't got no panties on. Ain't got no panties on. I ain't got no panties on.
Shut it off! Get in there and help them.
Did you hear the club music? Okay, that's what I imagined playing. The most beautiful sound of the M41A bug slaughter pulse rifle. Dude, you know the whole name? I just know it as the pulse rifle. M41A bug slaughter pulse rifle. No, it is a glorious
Connor,
name. And I love the fucking elephant screams that the xenomorphs make when they die.
Rookie, they got the music off, so they must be near. Check the next floor.
Hey! Now we're talking. Can you imagine being that cheap of a strip club? They're just like, yeah, let's just have a hologram. Let's just pre-record this motherfucker. And all their official designations. Nice. Alright, show's over, guys. I'm just gonna hang out here for a while. Oh, there's actually there should be like a audio log around here somewhere. AI is taking another job. Right, they're gonna take the oldest profession.
I've marked it on your HUD.
You know how Squishy, do you have a favorite alien movie? And I'll extend that question to your boy and Barrett as well. Mine, probably Aliens. Alien 1, and then I really loved Romulus. The fact that they call it the Bug Slaughter, has the Alien universe been part of the Starship Troopers universe? No, but that's a crossover I would love to fucking see. I'll tell you what. Not yet. Yeah, GBT just spits out of
Private Gibson here. I'm on my way to the Rookie. We had to pull back.
Right?
There's a slaughterhouse in there.
I did what I had to.
I should mention it's
Those
not
things
named
would've got
Bug
me
Slaughter.
too if I
Yeah. You were embellishing. I picked up on that. I'm a fraud. No, but it's the M41A, right?
Those things started to... I did what I had to. I didn't want to die.
Damn it, man. This cat's gonna be the death of me right now. He's been on a tirade of destroying my couch and like, fucking stop it.
Coming up.
But she's so cute and she's so sweet otherwise.
Watch those shadows, Rookie. The private.
Now buy her scratching post.
Almost
She's like, nah, fam, I'm cool with the couch. think Rom was actually really good. Oh, Original Alien is my favorite Alien film, and then Romulus. Nice. Aliens and then Romulus. See, I'm the same, except just swap Aliens and Alien, but I love both of those. I just... Well, one's a horror movie at the end of the day, and I love it for that. And then 2 is like a fucking war, horror, action thing. Suck it on my titties, suck your wine, you come. Something on my Christian behind. Where are they? How do I get down there? I'm scared. Alright, I think I'm just making a big circle. I'll get back to the elevators. I think they opened up. But I know they're around here somewhere. Idiots.
Working on an exit. Just stay alive.
What's the stim button? That is the correct order of choices. Let's see. Controls, keyboard, what is... What are you giving me fucking like multiplayer chat and stuff first? Health stim is H. Okay, H for health. H for help! Oh, there's no sprint? I see you! What the fuck? That was a waste. I hear it. I'm sure I asked you this before, but wait, but I forgot. How did you enjoy Alien Earth? I was like glazing it until the last episode, but that kind of grew on me after a while. I was like, nah, it's fine. The prisoners are in charge. It didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a cliffhanger, and I was like, I want more, you know? But it was kind of heartbreaking because at the end of the day, those were children, you know? It was a cliffhanger. Yeah, it fucking was. Like, I was sucking that show's dick until the last episode, and then so I was like, I looked over at Frank because I saw it with him, and we're like, that's it, you know. Alien Earth cucked me. I needed more. Yeah, I do exactly. But they are making season 2, so we'll get a resolution eventually. I still loved at the end. No, I did too. I wanted more. It didn't feel like an ending to me. Like it did, but it didn't. It set up so fucking much. Is there anyone playing multiplayer on this game right now? Probably not. Sorry, I was trying to catch up on chat, but then he said something I liked. I was like, oh, let me geek out.
Sending the rookie your way. Take good care of him. He's had a rough ride.
Sure thing, Tequila.
We're set up for season 2. No, it was.
How many of us are left? Those things are everywhere.
And it just it left off.
They seem to want to
so
take
much
us
stuff.
alive.
Like, oh, there's just a Xeno in the woods now, and then you know, like, sorry, spoilers for.
We don't have any weapons. We don't know what's
Holly knows
happening.
what he's doing, man. I don't know. Is he the showrunner?
Someone will come though.
What has he made?
They have to.
What has he worked on before? Because I actually don't know anything about him. No, I mean, I like it. I liked it. I just, like I said, the ending could have been handled a little better. Also, you know what's funny about that? I'm not even sure if this is... Oh, Legion? Oh, Legion was great. This is the first time on TV, cable TV, by the way, that I saw a sex scene, and you can hear, like, the... like, just a little fun fact, but that shit cracked me up.
base camp, rookie. You had yourself quite a party back there. Glad you made it.
Okay.
Suck it up, kid.
Eyelash
You'll
my eye.
live.
Come with me, rookie.
Come out with the
We're
arms.
needed
I can't reach
upstairs.
it. Hey, babe. You're no tequila, though. Bring me my tequila. Hey, what? Oh. What? Oh. Am I supposed to be moving that fucking, gun? Or no? I think I grab one up here and move it over there or some shit. Right?
I've got readings.
Why'd they just give up like that?
They're testing the perimeter, Private.
What the? What happened to the lights?
We're animals, man.
Multiple contacts! Sentry's running hot! They're at the pressure door!
Oh, if only I can sprint. Yeah?
Sentry 1 is down. Find the command laptop. Get it back online.
Oh, yeah, I'm wrong way now.
This is it, man. This is it.
There we go.
Be quiet.
Game over, man! Game over! He took the We're dropping like flies! Alright, people, Paxton. Dude, for real, man.
I think we're
That's a celebrity death that like legit bummed me out. It was like him, Lance Reddick. Legends. Bill Paxton was the shit.
It's down! It's down!
This is
Only a
Tequila.
guard down. I think I'm doing pretty alright.
Hang in there. Charlie team's headed your way. Tell them to hurry the fuck up, Corporal.
You hear that? Shit!
Ah, wait, there's more.
Dark. It's here!
Sorry, I was switching. Give me your ammo.
They may need support. Get to the barricade.
Time for the handgun. Actually. I'm terrified of the day we hear about Morgan Freeman. I'm probably gonna cry like a bitch. Dude, he's got like days left, man. Last time I saw him, I was like, bro, he's old. Like, given he's been old my entire life, but now he's like old. Crush them bugs. I'm gonna be right back. Got some stuff to do. Okay. Hopefully I'm live when you get back. If not, it was a pleasure.
Which rear echelon motherfucker ordered us
I'm
to
probably
retreat
gonna
into
leave
a dead
after
end?
this mission.
Hey!
But I'll raid out. Anybody want me to raid out? After this mission. Nice. Nice, man. Is he really? God damn. Alright, get behind the gun. What am I supposed to do? Return to the barricade tunnel and assist Charlie. Okay, well, Charlie's dead, man. Actually, wait, what's okay? I feel like I was like hitting something. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. Okay. Alright.
Get out!
Dunstan.
Run! Head to your objective marker.
to me.
Get
Where do I
back up
go?
the stairs. Follow the objective marker.
Trying, bitch. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. I'm like panicking. Oh, nice.
Elevators on the left.
Okay. If you aren't here by the time I get back, I'll be back. Like the Terminator. Oh, nice. I'll be back. I'll be live tomorrow.
Elevators
It's
on
nice
the
meeting you,
way.
Squishy. Always nice geeking out with fellow alien fam. That's right. I'm a fucking Chad, dude. I can knock this off back.
This is Tequila. All Marines, regroup and retreat. Everybody, get back to the dropship lobby quick. Sewer system runs complete. Tie it home. Follow the sewer tunnels back to the garage. Do it, Marine. You can wash the shit off in orbit.
Not the boss of me, bitch. Did you ever play Colonial Marines? I played it with the fix. It's not good, but you get used to it. I'm glad I finished it. Played a little not much though. Yeah, I played co-op with Anthony. Remember him? On streams at some point last year.
Got company. Run.
Oh shit, bitch. Run. Aw.
Keep moving. There's an elevator out at the other end of the sewer. Shit, they just keep coming. Get out of there.
Yeah, we could co-op. It's fine. I mean, you can kick around, you know, a baby. With buddy, you know what I mean? Alright. Alright, fam. Unfortunately, this is where I gotta call it, so we're gonna step back into my office, okay? Oh. Here, I have an idea. Like, first off, this over here. And then, wait, no, turn it off. There we go. Or nor. Nice. Actually, I forgot to make a version of this that doesn't have the intro. Oh, but yeah, tomorrow I'll do it. This is my just chatting. Hey, welcome to my stream chat. It's your boy Chest Burster. Let me stop the game. Like I said, this was all like kind of like down to the wire getting this running, and I'm proud of it. So let's see who's live. Who we got? We got Pocky Monster playing Pokemon. What the fuck is this? Pokemon Champions? What the fuck is Pokemon Champion? Chest Burster. Yeah. Open up in your mouth because I'm gonna call her the Chest Buster. I bust on your chest. Get it? Get it? Get it? Get it? All right. We got Brad. Oh, dude, Bradtastic. You guys want to see this sweet little fucking New Zealand dude play Conquer's Bad Fur Day? He always does like a lot of charities and stuff. He's cool. I like rating him. Wholesome fella. All right, we're gonna rate him. Raid, Bradtastic Ninja, and then honestly, dude, I actually kind of do need an ibuprofen. I have a fucking headache, and I gotta go to bed. Well, actually, I'm gonna watch The Boys, and then I'll go to bed. Thank you all for hanging out. Today was my, as I said before, my second affiliate anniversary. Technically it was yesterday. Well, it's midnight, so technically it was 2 days ago, but whatever. Have a good one, man. Yeah, it's always a pleasure, man. Good seeing you. You know what's funny? I almost streamed Vampire. I still haven't played that one. Don't get mad at me. But we're gonna start the raid. And enjoy the show. You guys all have a good night. I'm gonna watch The Boys and probably play with my penis a little bit. Go like this. All right, bye.